Radio is back in your life here on a Monday. Today is been doing the show for a long time, and we're gonna celebrate that tomorrow. So today we're gonna recap the fights, talk to Edson Barboza, but mostly open it up for you guys to call into the show and sound off. A lot of controversy in the UFC. I think that's kind of what fuels the sport sometimes, though. So we'll be interested to see what you guys thought. Primarily the Chris White, not yet. Chris Weidman and what was I saying? George just threw me off with a question. Oh yeah, the controversy in the Weidman-Mousasi fight, and then of course you have Anthony. And I thought that caught a lot of people by surprise. So we can talk about all that stuff. Talk a little bit about Bellator as well. Whatever you like. Whatever you like. Victoria is controlling the ship today. She
What up?
She just did something that is going to ruin somebody else's life. And I love it. She spelled somebody's name wrong. And whenever that happens on the show, they get called that name from now on. So
I asked him how to spell it, and that's how he spelled it. 10 seconds. Here we go.
All right, here we go.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goze. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yes!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goze.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goze. Our ace co-host, back east, handling the producing duties today. It's going to be Victoria. What's up?
What up?
Hey, George.
What's new?
Nothing much. How are you?
Good. Doing good. Just got back from the East Coast, your neck of the woods. A little bit further south, but still, we're on the coast.
Nice.
Yeah. You know, Goze, I kind of miss it.
I did, it's weird. There's a little girl outside, not in the sports book, but outside waving. We got this message from some of the fighters that I think it was Felice Herrig that said it just feels weird waking up and not seeing your guys' faces.
Yeah.
And as soon as she said that, I was like, man, that is right. It was kind of fun to just wake up in your room, go down in the lobby, and there was always somebody there with a big smile waiting.
Right, ready to take on our day. That was our day for like 4 days. And big thank you to Felice Herrig, Brad Tavares, Kevin Lee, Stitch Duran, and Todd Duffy for joining us on our morale visit tour, to JBLE, Joint Base Langley Eustis. And thank you to JBLE for having us back, Colonel Therio, Carl Cook, Alton Dunham. Honestly, that list is too long to list, but those are some of the major players there that wanted us back after our visit in December. And boy, was it great to be back. And thank you to both bases, the fort, Eustis, that's the Army base, and the Langley Air Base. Just the kindest people, man. Brave souls out there doing their thing, every day, and we get to go in there and cheer them up a bit because, a repetitious type of day, a stressful type of day, and what will soon be a dangerous environment for anybody that's deployed. So we thank them for their service, their bravery. But wow, just the kindest people, allowing us to go into their unit and see how they're trained, what they're trained at, what they do. And it was really, really a great time. And if they'll have us back, we'll keep going back.
And it's weird because each one of those, there's obviously a lot of troops on those bases, but they're split up in what they do. Some of them work on helicopters, some of them work on their stealth Raptor plane. They all do something different. But when we come down there, they have so much fun with what they do. Everywhere we go, they greet us with something different, and they kind of try and one-up each other. So really, it's almost like you walk into a room and they have these cool. We walked into one room where they had the lights off, and all you could see were these little lights, and they had the music playing in the background. They just turn around, and they have these big smiles, and they go through all their chants and really just welcome us with open arms. And it's so weird because I think it was Kevin Lee that said, like, I can't believe that they thank us when really it's us that thank them. We come back with so much more experience and just love in your heart for what it is they go through. It's amazing. Those people are incredible.
You are correct. There's no need to thank us. Honestly, we can't thank you enough. We'll definitely talk about our trip throughout the show, but I know some of you want to jump right into it. UFC 210 took place this past weekend. In fact, that was part of our trip. It was to host a viewing party, and we did at Fort Eustis with many soldiers. It was a blast. Thank you all for coming out. UFC 210, it was a blast until the very end.
Well,
it was a card that many people just weren't too hyped about, but
really?
We turned a corner on Monday. Yeah, I heard a lot of people just, because UFC 211 dwarfs it with star power.
Okay.
So, more or less that. But 210, as we got closer and I started just thinking more about the matchups, I was like, this ain't a bad card. We got an awesome headliner and a great co-main. So let's hope the rest of the card can just kind of hold its own. And then when we get to those two fights, they should deliver, and we'll be glowing on Monday. Well, I thought the first few fights actually did that. I thought there was some great action, some great moments, and then we get into the co-main. Like the co-main, it was a Weidman round. Weidman, tied early on, and then it changed to Mousasi. Both guys have admitted as much, but then some controversy came in that co-main, and we'll talk about a knee that was delivered and how it was handled by the referee, the commission. But that kind of controversy, which what we can say, we thought we were headed towards a finish that involved Mousasi's hand being raised anyway, but we just don't know. There's that little shred of doubt. And then in the main event, we had a fight where it felt like there was two game plans, and the losing fighter, in this case Anthony Johnson, almost helped out the game plan of the champion on what he was trying to do. And so therefore, as you were watching the fight, you just felt like robbed of what should have been a better fight because Anthony Johnson brain farted? What's the best way to put it?
Checked out, maybe?
Checked out, yeah. It was really bizarre. Look, the three fights that led to Anthony Johnson getting another shot at Cormier was Anthony Johnson basically trying to decapitate somebody. And so he hurt Cormier in the first fight. If you told Anthony Johnson, let's watch fight number one, what was your favorite part of the fight? He'd probably go, check it out. This is when I hurt DC. Remember when he chicken-legged him? So I'm sure a lot of the camp was built around doing that and doing what he did in those three fights to get to DC again. And yet he didn't. He started to wrestle DC, which is what DC wanted to do to Anthony Johnson, and probably couldn't believe it was taking place. Not only was there some wrestling, it was unsuccessful wrestling, and energy levels started to drop. And the bigger gas tank you got to give to DC. I mean, AJ's made out of steel, but if there's one thing that we've noticed is the pop just dwindles, like any athlete, except I think he's a high-performance car. His just tends to go down, in bigger spurts. So I honestly could not believe what I was watching. I mean, even DC said so in the post-fight press conference, that we were just shocked, but ecstatic that the fight was going the way it was. Bob Cook, his cornerman, was telling him, we got this. I mean, they felt really good about it after round one, and honestly, I felt the same way. Now, Anthony Johnson always comes out of every round. He's able to recover because he's an amazing athlete. So I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe he needed to clear his eye in between the round, or maybe there was a break somewhere, and he just needed to get to his corner and figure out what can we do, because I broke my foot, I broke this, I broke that. And no, it was more of the same, and it was just basically, it looked like to most people I was watching, somebody just wanted the fight to end, and DC did that. He handled that business, choked him out again in round two, and there you have it. That was the co-main and the main. As best as I can explain it, disappointing endings, because I thought both losers of their fights had more to give. I'm not so sure Weidman was done. Let's start off with Weidman.
Okay.
What happened was he took a knee from Gegard Mousasi, two of them, I guess, and now there's new rules in 2017 where it's no longer a 3-point stance that can save you from being kneed or kicked to the head. It's 2. And receiving more clarity from Brad Tavares, you have to be putting down pressure on 2. You can't just be
have like a finger or something.
Right. You can't just be basically playing the game, using the air quotes. So as that's happening, we all see a knee, and there was, trust me, it happened so quick that this is where I don't fault Dan Miragliotta in any way. Even with replays, I think we all went, oh, it was legal. If you had a sharp eye and you called it from the beginning, good for you. But I really believe anybody that was watching wasn't sure, or maybe even said that's an illegal knee. So Miragliotta, who didn't have the best vantage point, comes in, he stops the fight, and this is what I heard and I remembered, was that when he separated the two athletes, he told Weidman, you have 5 minutes, and he told Gegard, I'm not going to take a point away, but you just basically something along the lines, you gotta be careful with that technique. It's an illegal technique. However, he wasn't ready to disqualify him nor take a point away. It was a strong warning, he told me, because I'm giving you a warning. And then he goes back to Weidman, and of course by then doctors are being summoned. However, where the confusion lies is he went out and talked to, as he was trying to reiterate to the commission that he wasn't going to have a point taken away, he is then informed by then, because maybe a minute and a half had passed, I don't know. We have to still see the replay. We've just flew in from Baltimore early this morning. But from what I remember, at that point in time, he's informed that the knee was legal. And so therefore, Joe Rogan's pushing that the fight shouldn't be stopped, but he wants the fight to continue. I get that. Mm-hmm. And that's probably what should be happening, I suppose, if there was no doctor in there. But the doctor has now taken a look at Chris Weidman, and he's, I could see a little battery of tests happening in the background. Weidman is telling him he's okay. The doctor says, you're not good to go. Still a little bit more confusion. But in the end, the doctor's the one that decided he can't continue. Therefore, Miragliotta, now knowing it was a legal blow, waves it off as a TKO finish for Gegard Mousasi. So many questions here. Should Miragliotta have stepped in? Technically, no. But as close as it was, I don't blame him for it. And once he did and stopped it, I like that he addressed it. I think he also felt it was close and therefore not the type of intentional blow that one would get disqualified for. Plus, New York is not a replay state, so they shouldn't have the benefit of that. However, they did receive the benefit of it. So you see, this thing's
the glaring thing right there.
This thing's going off into so many branches that we can talk about over what should have or shouldn't have happened. But the tough part goes, okay, as Miragliotta is straightening all this out, separating the two, the doctors coming in, man, what can he, once Big John told him that it was legal, it's like, I mean, I'm sure that was reassuring to him because he didn't take the point away, but I believe that if the doctor would have said he's okay to continue, obviously we now continue with no points off. Yeah, Weidman recovers. That takes away from Mousasi, but I don't really think. I mean, I don't know. I as troublesome as it all was, maybe the biggest thing that shouldn't happen was Big John's interjection as to what it was and what it wasn't. But I thought Dan had already made his decision that it wasn't illegal, and if the doctor waved it off without Big John's contribution or not, that fight was just going to be stopped as a TKO.
I think I've been going back and forth on that a little bit, and I think they had the benefit of having instant replay when it wasn't allowed, because that's the way it works, right? But I think Big John has the right to tell his fellow official, you done messed up, so that he knows going forward how to call the rest of the fight. I don't think that there's an issue with that. But
meaning if the doctor said you're clear to go, and then now Dan has information as far as a knee situation again. Yeah,
if it were to happen again. But because we want the officials to be the strongest they can be at the moment, and that information is going to help him be a better referee at the moment.
Right.
But you can't take that information and have it influence the fight. You see what I'm saying? So I thought it kind of sucked, man, because it really was a good fight. It was fun, and the tide was churning.
Now, some people are saying Weidman was also playing the game.
I think they have a strong case. That could be the deal, and you see it in every sport. Maybe he just got caught playing the game a little bit.
Well, but
it was so close.
Here's the part as it's all happening. Remember, we have a lot of soldiers around us, and we're all talking about what should be happening. We don't have the benefit of rewinding or getting up to the TV. So, did you catch that? How much of the game he was playing?
I mean, I think early on, maybe just trying to get a little bit more rest or something. But
he was told he has 5 minutes.
It backfired,
And I'm not so sure he needs the 5 minutes. I thought that was only on the low blow. He needs to separate them for sure. Is it the doctor has his 5 minutes to check him, or
what I don't understand is he seemed like he knew what was going on in this whole sequence. So I don't understand what it was exactly that the doctor saw. That he didn't look any different than anybody else.
It looked to me like he could continue.
It did to me as well. So that's what I kind of wish I had a little bit more clarification was what was it that the doctor saw?
We can't hear what the doctor's saying, but if the doctor said, are you a man or a woman? And he said, I'm a woman. Then I guess, okay, we get it. Yeah. The doctor's going, this guy can't continue. But from what we could tell, it looked like he was pretty cognizant just by his reaction of what might be happening. No, don't stop it, whatever. It looked to me like he knew what was going down. Man, it was confusing. I really wanted to rush home as quick as we could. We got in so late and got up so early this morning that I haven't been able to look at that sequence because we didn't purchase the pay-per-view, but we need to take a look at it. But Junkie Nation, you always come through. Tell us what you saw, 866-522-2846. I did see the fight, and from what I saw, it was many factors all tied in. But I do believe that Mousasi being awarded the fight isn't the worst thing I've ever seen as far as like getting it right. I want them to get it right. I want the right winner to leave the arena. It looked like he was on his way to finishing the fight, but that's the thing is when there's doubt, you want some sort of conclusion, and we didn't get the proper conclusion.
Take the controversy aside, and let's just break down what the performances were from both individuals. I think Mousasi looked pretty good. I mean, probably lost round one, but he made the adjustments. I think that's really going to help him going forward. The problem is he's stuck in just such a stupid situation in that division. You got a guy like Chris Weidman. I mean, he really needs to just go back.
He's already answered. He's not going up in weight class, or even some people believe he can go to 7. He's not doing it. He wants to win his title back. Depending on how this is looked at, stock has dropped, obviously, because of the loss. I just don't know that it's dropped as much. Also, as far as a rematch, Mousasi's a free agent. He's got to figure that out first, and he wants to get paid. He pointed out there's a lot of people that are making a lot more than he has, and these are fighters that he's beaten. So I don't think there will be a rematch per se. I also think that Weidman, depending on what the doctor evaluated, just needs to rest up a little bit and maybe come back strong. But there's going to be a strong push from him to fight on that Long Island show, which is in July. Could that be too soon? I don't know. But, wow, he hasn't been too lucky in New York. Buffalo and New York City haven't gone well. Long Island, this is his part of the state. We'll see. Gegard Mousasi, he
gotta
just,
sign him.
he
You
just,
gotta
yeah,
sign
you
him.
have to sign him. He went out there and he did his job.
Going up to the main event, if you're game planning for this fight, okay, you're in Daniel Cormier's corner, you're thinking our advantage is to get a hold of Anthony Johnson. Not saying Daniel Cormier's striking is bad, it's just not on the level as Anthony Johnson. That's where Anthony Johnson can do his most damage. You want to put a fighter where he is the most uncomfortable. So if I'm in Anthony Johnson's corner and I see my fighter close the distance for Daniel Cormier, I'm losing my mind. I'm going crazy. I'm saying you just did that guy the biggest favor he ever needed in this fight. You closed the distance for him. Why did you do that? So the question is, with Anthony Johnson, what the hell was going on in his mind? He announced a retirement. Had he already checked out even before the fight?
He said win or lose, he was going to retire.
Some people like to throw he threw the fight and all that. I'm not so sure you can say, hey, DC, I'm going to break your nose with a head kick.
Right.
Try not to get knocked out. That just doesn't happen. I think he did put in effort. I think he realized where he was. He wasn't going to do it. And I think Daniel Cormier just took over.
DC saying he's a wrestler. He came from a wrestling background. That's what we do. When things aren't going right, we wrestle. But things were going right. He landed a few strikes. Like, why even go in and do that? And then when he didn't get the first takedown right away, and you know that, okay, that didn't work, abandon it and go back and try and keep working on that nose, touch that chin, do what you got to do. I mean, how is that not computing? Now his coaches, from the audio that's been released, and I've read it, they seems just as shocked as what was taking place. They basically were coaching him through the wrestling sequence, but only because he was in it. They did not want him there. They wanted him to disengage. They wanted him to strike. If you even take a look at the end when he is retiring and letting Joe Rogan know that he's retiring, he's calling for his coaches, but his coaches never make it back in. Now, I don't know if by then how far out they were or if the commission wasn't letting them in. That looked like a difficult moment for Anthony. So I don't know. I don't know if the coaches were mad or I don't know. Has there been any report as to where the coaches were located at that time? A lot of people are really pissed off at the coaches for not being there with them. Did any of them make it back in?
I don't think so.
I don't think
just
so either.
remember him being, they could have been off to the side, but
right now, that would be pretty quick to leave, in my opinion. Win or lose, regardless if you disagree with how the athlete performed. I mean, maybe the coach feels like, you wasted my time. I don't know. I don't know what the coach feels, but I just think that regardless of the result, your corner should always be there. Unless you're told you can't be in there. And sometimes there's a limit. You only see 2 come in. Sometimes you'll see a whole family come in with an agent, with the special guest, whatever. But for the most part, you are allowed a coach or 2, and I just didn't see that. And I was wondering what happened there.
What did you think of Daniel Cormier's comments afterwards? For me.
Oh, you mean taking the heel roll?
Yeah. He took a fight.
It was funny.
He took a fight. He took 2 fights, okay? One with Manoa that I have absolutely no interest in. And
You may have to, though.
now I have a little bit
It's
of
a
interest
thin
because
division.
of what he did.
Yeah.
He also took another fight that I had almost no interest in, and that's John Jones, just because they can't get to that dance.
Mm-hmm.
And again, now he stirred that up for me. I thought he was brilliant, with the exception of the way he started it, with the whole not being happy with getting the boos.
Mm-hmm.
I think he needs to get over that and just
He said that?
embrace. Didn't he say, like, you guys would be cheering, maybe I need to retire for
Right,
something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not the best thing to say,
Mhm.
but his
I didn't mind
promotion
that so
of
much.
himself,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you have to do as a fighter when you get that mic. I thought he did a good job of it. You saw all the troops that were in the room. They were all engaged in it. I thought he did a good job with that.
I would say that, yeah, I guess he really didn't need to do that. I think he was just being sarcastic, but he could probably just not throw that line in. But I thought it was almost perfect, except at the very end. I just feel like if you're gonna be a heel, then guess what? You're a heel. And so he's picking on John Jones. He's picking on Jimmy Manuel. He's building those fights up. But then why stop and go, hey, I do respect you, and you're a great athlete, and you're this, and you're that. But, and then go back to, no, man, you know what? Maybe that's him thinking, I got to look good for Fox, or I got an image, or I got kids. I don't know. But, again, the heel is the heel. And you go home and you explain to people, I'm a heel. This is the role I play. Don't hold me accountable.
I think part of it's just being a father.
Could be. I don't know. But the heel's the heel. The heel is basically you're a loser. I'm going to kick your ass. This, that. Whatever you want to add to that, that's fine. But then you start getting into the respect and all, and it's like, you're kind of like ruining that script. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a script. You're playing a character at that point. And I know. You're going to think it's pro wrestling talk, but I'm telling you, that's just the way it is. All right. We've talked enough. We can get to the rest of the card throughout the show. We only have one guest today, maybe a second one. We'll see if he pops in. But for the most part, I knew that with us wanting to talk a little bit about our trip that we just took and recapping this event, as well as the Bellator card, a champion held on his belt there, that it would be more prudent to just give you all as much time to call in and chat with us. 866-522-2846. We're going to take this break, and when we come back, I want to hear your reactions to Daniel Cormier's win over Anthony Johnson. Also, the way Johnson's coaches should have acted. I want to hear some thoughts there because I've seen a lot of threads and a lot of thoughts and comments on that. How about Johnson's retirement? Do you think it's permanent? And also, what about Weidman and Musasi? Where do you think the fault lies on how that was handled? Or in the end, even though it was a bit comical, do you believe that we basically came to the decision that needed to be come to, and that was a Gegard Mousasi technical foul win, or TKO win, technical knockout win over Chris Weidman. All right, we'll be right back. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93. Stay close.
Put a lid on Medina in your glass, and the girls will come real quick. It's better than any alcohol or aphrodisiac.
were forged from the same ball sack, but act as though they've never met. They are the brothers Garcia, Gorgeous George and Goze.
All right, we're back. Goze and I have definitely met, but it's fun acting like we've never met. A lot of people don't know, but he's actually my younger brother. Many people have gone like years without knowing that, right?
Yeah.
That means, can you pass the computer, please?
Oh. That's not the sign.
Well, no, I asked earlier. I go, hey, I think my computer's charged enough. Can you pass it? So that's what I thought. What were you going to say?
I think the official for that is this.
Laptop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody really surprised me with that the other day.
Yeah, there's people that have known us for like 6 or 7 years revolving around the show, and they're like, I didn't know you guys were brothers. And I correct them. I go, we're not. We're Latinos. They go, no, siblings, you big dummy. And I go, I know what you meant. Yeah, we are. That's all that we can say to it. We are.
We didn't choose this life.
I guess you could say there's some similarities, but I don't think
really.
Like we're So I
nobody
can
would see us on the street and go, "You guys are brothers, right?"
I see how that could exactly throw people off. Anyway, let's take some calls here. 866-522-2846. We're also gonna have Mike Bohn, who was in Buffalo, New York, join the show. We'll talk to him and see his thoughts on everything that went down. He was kind of behind the scenes. Matt was doing play-by-play Octagon side. Mike was behind the scenes in the back where there's a lot of info floating around. So maybe he can clarify some of the questions that we have. We'll start off with Proteus in Ontario, Canada. What's up, Proteus?
That's not what we're doing.
What are we doing?
Victoria did something that I absolutely love.
What's that?
She misspelled his name.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, you just got to roll with it. So we're actually talking to Trotius right now.
What's up, Trotius?
What's up? I'm not going to hate on her. There was a lot of background noise when I called in, so that's probably why she got it wrong.
That sounds like something
Trotius
would say.
That's it. Okay, guys, before I get into the madness that was the main event and the co-main event, I wanted to give a shout-out to a Canadian MMA legend, Patrick Cote, on his retirement. That guy's been, one of my favorite fighters for a long time. Obviously, being Canadian, I got a special place in my heart for him, and got to meet him and shake his hand, not only before the fight, but after he retired as well. So big shout out to him, and congratulations to him, and have a good life outside of fighting.
You know what's weird about that
say hi to,
is lately when you see a fighter retire, you kind of see it coming, right? You go, okay, this guy doesn't have too many left. But I thought Patrick Cote, it was a great fight. I didn't think he looked that bad. I thought he looked good in the fight. And the same thing with Anthony Rumble Johnson. That caught us by surprise as well. Now we're starting to get these fighters that are retiring, and we're not seeing it come.
Well, here's the thing. We actually talked to Patrick last week, and, how did we categorize this fight? Veterans that have been around forever. We can't believe how long they've been around. Patrick actually fought Tito Ortiz back in 2004, And remember we addressed the fact that he had gone through a cycle where he worked his way back to the UFC, but then MMA afforded him an opportunity for life after. And so one thing he's done is he's become an announcer. He does the French broadcast for the UFC, a few other opportunities. And so now between that and some good paydays, I think he knew that now he reached the fun stage of his career where he can go out there and just have fun and mix it up with someone else and do what he's got to do. So his didn't catch me off guard. I was just like, oh, really? Okay, cool. But it didn't catch me like, what? Like, some sort of a shocker from left field.
I wish you would have done it in Canada, though.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it had to do with the camp or this fight. Who knows? But Anthony, again, didn't shock me, and it's because he had done an interview where he said, it was about 2 months ago, where he said, I may not be doing this too much longer. But what I thought that meant was like, maybe a fight, defend, and bail, or a fight, defend, bail, or just finish out a contract. So, yeah, there was a little bit of a surprise, but remembering that interview, I just knew that it wasn't going to be – it wasn't like the most shocking thing ever. Continue, Proteus.
Secondly, if you could say hi to Mike for me when he calls in. It was great meeting him as well and sharing a frosty beverage with him on Friday night before the event. So if you could pass that along for me, that'd be great. The madness that was Gegard Mousasi and Chris Weidman. I was alive in the building, and at the time when the fight got stopped, there was almost a riot in that place. There was fights breaking out because people were on the Mousasi side, and of course, a lot of the crowd was very pro Weidman. So it was a very, very scary atmosphere when the whole confusion was going down, whether or not it was legal or illegal. And when it happened, I was sitting beside Chasm. He says to me, you know what, man, this is going to happen for a little while because some of the fighters don't even know about the new rule or what it entails. And I thought that was a pretty good point, especially since, the referee that was in there kind of thought the same thing, you know what I mean? What you said earlier about how it used to be and the new rule now that you really have to have pulse down. And
with pressure going forward, going downward, I should say.
Correct. Yeah.
At least according to Brad, that's something I want to definitely brush up on. We saw the rule changes about 6 months ago that were forthcoming, and then you look at them one more time, but you really, really have to digest them, I guess, especially if you're going to host the show. Continue.
And just to touch on what you said about Weidman, I don't know how it came over on the broadcast. As I mentioned, I was there. He seemed really gone, man. I mean, he would stay down for a really, really long period of time, and when he got back up to his feet, when the doctor was interviewing him or testing him out, he was like, his legs were not there. It was a really crazy scene to see because he was pretty much on Queer Street for a while. And as for Anthony Johnson, it shocked me. I'm going to be honest with you. I was not expecting that at all, but I've heard lately after that he has quite a lot of ventures that he can have moving forward to make him some money. So maybe, like you said earlier on, he's kind of already on the way out. I did think it was a really, really strange tactic for him to employ. Like you said, he was having a lot of success on the feet. He just should have stayed there. And then all of a sudden he gave DC, the win. It was very strange indeed, guys.
All right, thanks for the call, Proteus. Let's do one more before we take another break. Showtime from Tennessee. What's up, Showtime?
What's going on, fellas?
Not much, and you?
Man, AJ quit, man. I haven't been a pro fighter, but I played football at a pretty decent level, and he quit. He quit when somebody steps up to him and make him dig down deep. Give me one war AJ been in where somebody was busting him up, he was busting them back up, and he won the fight. He quit. That's why his coaches left out of there. I love AJ, but just like coaches that coach me, when you quit, you're a quitter. He quit, man. I don't even put him and Weidman, those two fights, in the same thing because Weidman was ready to go out on his shield, and AJ quit. He was looking for a way out. I had a football coach to say, "You looking for a way out? You sorry sucker." That's what I would have said to AJ, man.
Well, check this out.
Coach.
Check this out. I believe that the end result was one where in the second round, if the fight needed to conclude, it needed to conclude in his mind. But in the first round, I don't know. I don't know if there was a strategy there or what, because he hadn't received anything. He hadn't received any damage. So for him to just go in there for that takedown, I actually bought into, well, maybe he wants to take him down. Maybe Neil and him worked on something from the top that, might work, or a ground and pound. But when it didn't work and he went back and struck, or at least wanted to strike, he was doing the linear kicks to the knees. I thought, okay, we have something here. So I don't think he entered the octagon like that, but you are making some good points, Showtime, in that, once once DC put him up against the cage, then I think at that point AJ thought, oh man, he must just come to the conclusion this ain't going to be my night, and I guess that's what he does, is looks for a way out. Who knows? But I don't understand how he can have that such a quick turnaround. Just look at the last 3 fights. He blasted the number 4, 5, and 6 guys. Punted their heads, punched them, kicked them, kneed them, did whatever he wanted to. I don't know.
Sometimes fighters have
it's
a kryptonite.
baffling to me. Yeah,
maybe that's his kryptonite.
Yeah.
You know what? He reminded me of Mike Tyson. When times get rough, he looks to get out of there. He knocked those other guys out. And he basically dominated them. They didn't have any shine in those fights. That's why, he looks so spectacular. But when a guy grinds him, and if he fought John Jones, the same thing was going to happen. John was going to break him. So John got hard, and he's not going to quit. But AJ quit. I mean, we love him. I hate to see him walk away. But when your heart not in it, you got to go on and get out of it. Because, you'll end up getting hurt when your heart not in it. I don't think his heart in it.
I think he'll
his
be back.
Not in it once it go past 5 minutes. Now, yeah, you're right, because I don't think there's nothing he's going to be able to do and make $700,000 or whatever, however much he's making, probably with some pay-per-view points. I don't know what he's going to be able to do to make that type of money. So when he sit back a little bit, he'll come in there. He'll beat everybody else. He's not going to beat John Jones, and he's not going to beat DC.
Yeah.
We can talk about DC, little big belly, man bod. DC will go out on his sword. He'll go out on his shield, and you're not going to beat him like that. He got heart. And he said it, the Rumble didn't have heart. And I hate it. I mean, I wanted to see Rumble win that title. But I don't know why we bet it against DC, because DC is a warrior, man.
Thanks for the call, buddy. I got to move on. We're going to take this break. When we come back, we'll talk to Mike Bohn. Don't worry, anybody that hasn't got in this run, we'll get you on. And we're going to spend a little bit of time with Mike. So you better let Mike know, Goze. We're going to keep past the hour because we're running a little bit behind here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. We'll be right back. Stay close.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tax. They are Gorgeous George and Goze.
This looks like it's about to be awesome. Oh, no.
And I missed it, Goze.
No.
You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio live from the Mandalay Bay Race and Sportsbook, hosted by two dumb monkeys like myself who had a chance. Monkey? Yeah, you're right. A dumb monkey like myself. I was showing Goze a video of an F-22 Raptor at the Langley Air Base, and he basically just hung in the air and basically said, "Get your cameras ready, here I come." And you can hear it, you can feel it, you just can't see him because I was too worried about telling everyone, hey, I think I got distracted. I said, hey, cover your ears a little bit. And I lost him, so you can kind of hear him, and then I catch him at the end. But that was
setup was incredible.
That was one of my favorite ones.
A great video, and he said
that was gonna be an all-time great.
I'm gonna do something crazy, and then you missed.
I'm still gonna post it just so everyone can bag on me. Feel free to tee off. I'm an idiot. I accept. All right, I'll tell you who's not an idiot. Mike Bohn, our next guest, brilliant writer, great contributor to our site. Not only does he do work on MMAjunkie, he also does it on USA Today Sports, and of course, he's got the Rolling Stone gig too. Bringing on Mike Bohn here. What's up, Mike? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good, guys. How about you?
Good, my man. Buffalo, New York. Was that nutty or what?
Yeah, man, that was wild. I mean, I was only down there for about 24 hours. Went down there, right before. Actually, it was a little longer than that. Went down Friday afternoon. Missed all the chaos. It was the early weigh-ins, but got there for the ceremonials and for the whole John Jones thing, and of course fight night. And even that little bit of time there was enough chaos for to last you a whole week. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to focus on fight night, and we'll start off with the co-main event. Chris Weidman versus Gegard Mousasi. The fight's going like many expected. I mean, some people thought Weidman would win. Some people thought Mousasi would win. But we knew it would be a competitive fight. And, Weidman really was putting the wrestling on him. I think even Mousasi took a while to, recover from that because he even said, I've been working on my wrestling. He's not going to take him down. He took him down pretty easily. In fact, it was so easy I thought Mousasi may have even been hiding an injury this whole time because he just pretty much went down like how I would expect it if Weidman, took me down. There was no sprawl. There was no underhooks. And I go, all right, well, it looks like Weidman really is applying himself here. And, round two goes a little bit different. Of course, Mousasi now starts to let his hands go. And, of course, we have the controversial ending with a couple of knees that hit Weidman, look like by the temple. Take us through all this, Mike Bohn. First of all, let's establish that New York is not a replay state. You can confirm that, right?
Yeah, that was not on the books for them. And, yeah, in terms of the actual fight itself, I mean, what you were just saying there about the takedowns, Mousasi, and I think he did an all right job, but for a guy like him to say he's not going to score a single takedown. Of course, when you think about him, that King Mo fight, I think from Strikeforce is still in a lot of people's heads in terms of the wrestling, and even like the Keith Jardine fight. And for a guy like Mousasi, he can work his wrestling as much as he wants, but to catch up like a guy like Chris Weidman with his ability and his background, it's a lot of ground to make up, even if that's what you're training, very intensively all training camp. So I wasn't really surprised Weidman was able to have his way with the actual takedowns, but have to be just as impressed with Mousasi's ability to get back up to his feet and be able to constantly, not stay on the ground for too long.
That is correct. But 10-9 Weidman, right, Goze, Mike?
10-9.
Yeah, and so we get to the second round, and they have that sequence with the knees. Now, look, we watched it through pay-per-view. So pretty much I can't believe there's anyone that with the naked eye was able to call it spot on. And if he did, I think there was a little bit of probably guessing or just hoping you were right. So, Mergliata stops the fight, and I thought that was appropriate at that point. And he quickly tells Weidman, go over here, and Mousasi, go over here. But I heard him tell Mousasi, I'm not going to deduct a point. Just watch yourself. Consider this a warning. At this point, Mike, were you octagon side, or were you watching in the back as well through pay-per-view?
I was in the back watching as well on the broadcast in the media room with all the other journalists that were back there.
Okay. Mergliata interrupting the fight, you have no problems with that, right? I think he was acting appropriately. It was that close to be able to separate the two.
I thought it was fair. Yeah, I thought it was fair. I mean, like you just said, you're asking someone to make a split decision. No one really even knew until they got that one angle that they pulled up that was like the zoomed in, super slow-mo of him pulling his hand up. Like, I really don't know how you're supposed to expect someone to make that call. And from the rules as kind of we know them right now, I had no problem with him jumping in. It was just everything that happened after that point, which was really a complete mess and a total meltdown of just the entire regulatory system right there.
So where do you think the mistake lies? Like, should Dan have accepted feedback from John validating that it was legal not illegal. And I believe Dan had established that, because if he wasn't willing to take a point away and he was just going to give him the warning, then he must have thought it was close or too close for him to call, or he didn't see it. But either way, if it's a non-replay state, how should that have been handled? Was that talked about at all in the back?
Yeah, I think everyone was just a little bit confused because it was just such a chaotic situation, and we were seeing all these people. We were seeing Big Dan going over and talking to John McCarthy outside the cage, and I'm assuming it looked like John McCarthy was looking at the replay, so, I don't even know if that's technically allowed within the rules. But, yeah, I mean, ideally what you would have liked to see happen is they would have saw it was not an illegal blow, and they should have restarted the fight right there and let them keep going. It would have sucked for Mousasi regardless, because it seemed like he had Weidman in a compromising spot there.
Right.
Who knows what would have happened afterward? Maybe he would have landed some more knees. Maybe Weidman would have escaped, and the fight would have kept going, and the round would have ended, and we would have gone on to that point, which I scored that second round for Mousasi, so we would have had a 1-1 fight going into the third round, and it would have played out as it did. But, yeah, the fact that we just had such a long break there, and then they came in and they decided the fight was over. It was not handled that well at all, and I think Weidman definitely didn't help his case by being down for so long. It seemed like he was definitely a little bit hurt by the situation, and from my perspective, it looked like Dan Miragliotta was kind of reacting to Weidman's reaction more than anything after the knees landed. You could see Chris grabbed the top of his head a bit, and then that's when Dan jumped in. It wasn't really from the knee strikes itself. So I don't know. It was so much happening in the matter of just a few seconds. But yeah, if in a perfect world, the fight would have just been restarted and went on, and they could have finished their business. The fighters could have settled the result themselves. But of course, we had the New York Commission. They kind of made the decision for them, which is very unfortunate.
Even though Miragliotta waved it off, the decision was made by the doctor. He's the one that advised that the fighter can't continue. So had he said yes, I think the only thing Miragliotta could have done was properly inform Weidman that was not illegal. Therefore, Mousasi's got a clean slate should we come back to this and there have to be any more series of warnings. But it never got to that. He waved it off. So it took a long time to get to that. I don't know if the doctor could have been quicker in given his decision, because the longer it took, the more it looked like it was basically chaos in there. I want the doctor to have as much information to make the decision, but at the same time, I mean, he's either ready to go or he isn't. And there you have it. I mean, Mousasi wins by TKO. Of course, we see now on the front page of Junkie that Weidman wants to file an appeal. But what did you see behind the scenes once everyone started trickling in?
Yeah, I think the decision to appeal the result, I think, for Weidman is pretty obvious. I think he has to do that. And I think at this point he might have a pretty good chance of actually getting this overturned or having something go well for him, because it seemed like it was all handled so poorly. They definitely, from all we could see, John McCarthy was outside the cage. He was looking at a replay. He relayed the information to Dan. And from what we know, like we said off the top here, replay isn't allowed in New York. So right there, Weidman has a pretty strong case if this was handled inappropriately. It should be a no contest, or however they want to go with it. So from him, seems like he has a decent case there, which is unfortunate for Mousasi, because we saw him at the press conference talking about the fight. He said, hey, this wasn't my fault. I was just fighting. I was fighting how I know to fight, and this sequence happened, and that was the result of it. So it's unfortunate that Mousasi could lose a big win like this, have some things kind of go backwards for him, but at the same time, like we know these things happen in the sport, like referee human error is a real thing. So I think everyone was kind of aware that that stuff happens. I don't think anyone was necessarily blaming Dan Miragliotta too much for stepping in there, because like we said, it was such a split decision, or such a split second sequence, but at the same time, it should have, been handled just a lot more smoothly. And I just think for Weidman, there's a lot you can go off there to try to get this one back. But yeah, just very unfortunate for Chris, because we saw he definitely seemed out of it when he was talking to Joe Rogan in the cage afterwards. He didn't really seem to know exactly what was going on there. And
Mike, let me jump in real fast. We're going to keep you a few minutes over. We got to do the sports update. So hang tight with us, all right, so we can finish this conversation. And folks, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. See you in a couple.
I wish that there were more than 24 hours in the day.
All right, you're listening to MMA Junkie Radio, and it's the second hour. And we're joined by Mike Bohn from MMA Junkie. Goze, of course, you wanted to chime in for a bit. I do want to ask you all something. In a perfect world, once Mergliata said, I'm not going to take a point away, that means he's not deeming it an illegal foul. So he has a strong belief that the second hand wasn't down. And again, Mike, have you or Goze, can you confirm that 2 hands down, there has to be a downward push? You can't just have your fingers gently gliding over the canvas either.
Pressure.
Right.
The
so
hand looks like it needs to be applying pressure.
Exactly. And I don't know that Weidman had that. Obviously, one of them was stabilizing him, but when he put the other one down, I don't know that one was down with any pressure. So so I'm thinking if we strip this thing down, if Mergliata comes in and says, okay, you're over here, he doesn't even need to bring the doctor in, because if he's saying that it's not illegal and he says, listen, I'm giving you a strong warning, that was close, maybe I didn't have the best vantage point or whatever. But if then he needs to immediately go to Weidman and go, can you continue? That was legal. And if he can't, it's over. Yeah. And if he can, then the fight resumes.
Yeah, and he shouldn't have given him 5 minutes either. 5 minutes, as we know, is only a rule for a low blow. So, that was kind of bizarre as well. That's not something that's in the rules. And, yeah, I agree with you. It needs to be the full hands down. I mean, we've heard, especially, Big John McCarthy, he talks about it at length. Weidman was playing the game there, too. He was trying to, do the fingers up, fingers down thing. You can see in the video he's watching his hands more so than Musashi's knee or anything like that. So, for him, it's a situation, one of those things where it's just a fine line, and it seems Chris was playing the game. And Musashi handled it perfectly, too. You can see on that second knee, he pulled his hand off the mat, and that's when he landed it. That was the perfect way to execute that technique, and it's unfortunate for him that was the result of it, because we just don't have this really clear line or a very clear definition of how to handle this process when something like that goes down. It just seemed like that happened, and then from there on, whether it was between Dan, Big John McCarthy, the doctors, and just the whole New York Commission in general, it seemed like they were just making it up as they went, just really trying to not following a very defined, straightforward process of how to handle this, because really there isn't one.
Goze, what did you want to say before the break?
Well, he kind of touched on it a little bit in his answer, but Mike, usually when there's a situation like that where things are this close, a lot of fighters get accused of possibly not playing the game in the sense of lifting the hand, but once the damage is done, playing the game of maybe acting to be a little bit more hurt than they were in order to get that sympathy from the referee. Do you feel like at any time Chris Weidman may have embellished a little bit, and if so, could that have cost him in the eyes of the doctor?
I think it did. I don't want to sit here and say that he was trying to milk it or anything like that, because I wasn't inside of his head. I don't really know, but just from watching how he was acting the entire time that he thought this was an illegal blow, that he was clearly slightly rocked from it. We can see in the post-fight interview that he was definitely a little fuzzy upstairs, and for him to do that, I think it definitely looks bad. And as soon as they said, or there was even a hint that the fight might be over, he popped back up and he was very argumentative and very upset with the situation. So for him, it seemed like when he thought that this could potentially result in a foul, maybe a disqualification, anything that would benefit him, he was definitely a little more, seemed like he was a little more hurt or off-put than he was when he thought that this fight could be stopped, and of course, after the fact when it was stopped.
Here's the confusing thing. I don't mean to come at you, Mike, or anybody else that thinks this. I will say that him playing that game, and I say that in air quotes, is kind of almost no different from, when a quarterback gets hit and he's trying to let the referee, that should be the 15 or whatever, or even the punter when he gets kicked. He kind of does this, what do they call it, a pair foul and the 15-yard foul. In soccer, they want the red card instead of the yellow. A lot of that happens, and part of me doesn't blame. Part of me doesn't blame them for doing it. Now, that's the cost they're gonna have to pay. That's the price they're gonna have to pay. Is if the doctor's watching this and he's going, well, a second ago it looked like you were kind of woozy. So, but part of me, I just feels like it's just ingrained, unless you really got picked up as a toddler and said, wrestling, that's all you know. You've probably played Little League and basketball or whatever, or just seen your fair share of athletic competition. So it won't surprise me if that continues from the athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Just know that Weidman in April of 2017, it didn't go his way. There's precedents that are set so that these athletes have to be cognizant of that. But I kind of don't blame him for, I guess, doing that. But I guess the athletes also need to just know that it could be costly. So, yeah, there's got to be a point where you sell it, but then that's it. If you really can't continue, you better continue because, this should have been expedited a lot quicker. So, he shouldn't have even had that much time to play the woozy role.
Well, even if the fight were to continue, he was in a bad spot. The tide was starting to change a little bit. I'm not so sure that fight would have gone his way.
Yeah, but if he makes it to the third, you just don't know because wrestling was something Weidman was. He was definitely applying that. He was applying the wrestling, and of course, we all know he's a pretty darn good grappler. You're right. My money would have been on Mousasi. If you had that live betting or whatever, I would have said, yeah, tack on a little bit more on Mousasi. The tide was definitely turning, but that's the part we don't know, and that's the part we don't get. I also don't believe this needs to be ran back. I mean, Mousasi, his ship sails. He needs to get the contract situation sorted out, but I want to see him towards a title run. This fight shouldn't have even been made. A guy on a 4-fight win streak against a guy with a 2-fight losing streak. Much respect to Weidman because he's a former champ. And, of course, as deep as middleweight is, it's just chaos in there, with what the champ's doing and with GSP's introduction. So, okay, I get why they made it. They had to basically, spice up Buffalo. But I just believe Mousasi moves on, and maybe down the road you can use that highlight and go, maybe Weidman wins 3 in a row, and then Mousasi loses one, then they go, in April of 2017, controversy, stirred between these two, and now we've locked them in again. Fine, use it as a promo, but they don't need to run it back in my eyes.
Question for both of you guys. If you are Dana White, you're WME, do you open up the book for a big contract? Because there's been certain situations where, like a Gilbert Melendez, was able to take advantage of the situation he was in to get a really nice contract. In the case of Gegard Mousasi, is this a guy that you open up that pocketbook for and make sure, even if you're giving up a little bit more than maybe you should, you keep him on that roster?
Fuck yeah. That's my answer. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. They absolutely need to keep him around. I actually tweeted this out a little bit earlier this morning. For a guy like Mousasi, he's had 12 fights in the UFC at this point. He's been either the main event or the co-main event on 11 of those fights. The one fight he was not a main or co-main event was UFC 200, and as he actually responded to me on Twitter, that was a card where he was very close to stepping in and fighting Daniel Cormier for the light heavyweight title on short notice, which would have been main or co-main event. So this is a guy that clearly the UFC sees as a useful fighter. I know Dana White was saying at the post-fight press conference that the guys who get the big contracts are people that can fill arenas on their own, this kind of thing, marketable, all that. But it seems like Mousasi has most of that, especially now that he's really opened up his personality and is really not holding back or having no filter on himself. So he's a guy very useful. They're talking about going back to the Netherlands later this year. He's a guy who could easily headline that card. There's just a lot of useful things with him. He's obviously a top 3, top 4 guy in that middleweight division. So, yeah, I think they absolutely need to keep him around. But who knows? Dana White also said he's going to find out now what he's worth. So it seems like they're going to let him go out and potentially field some offers. I know they have an exclusive negotiating period now that his contract is up. I'd hope that Mousasi wouldn't have to wait I think 90 days or whatever it is to find out his fate and then go really looking for other offers. I'd hope they get something done within that window. But yeah, I think it'd be a huge coup for Bellator to grab someone like him. But I think he needs to be in the UFC, needs to be fighting those top guys. And I think for all he's done in his career, everywhere he's been, all the organizations he's fought in, he really, in terms of like his goals left, I think he wants that UFC championship belt. He wants to fight for it. And I think maybe he would take, something slightly lesser than maybe what he absolutely wants to get that opportunity. But who knows, maybe for him, it's all about the money. And for Bellator, I think they would really be willing to open up the purse strings for a guy like him. But I think the UFC, really regardless of what it is, should try to keep him around because he's a guy that has put in the work to deserve that and is on a 5-fight winning streak, as you said. This isn't really like a Ryan Bader situation, in my opinion, a Phil Davis. This is a guy that we haven't, or even like a Rory McDonald. We kind of saw those guys hit their peak a bit. We saw Rory McDonald fight in championship fights. You saw him fight really the best guys for a little bit. Mousasi, in my opinion, is still very much on the way up. He's only 31, and he's a guy that I think it would be a real shame if at this point, after it took so long for him to get to the UFC, to leave now in this position. That'd be a really big shame.
You know, I think the outside player in all this is Ryzen. He has a history in Japan, and he is young, but he's got a lot of wear and tear on him. He's had a lot of fights in his career. I think Ryzen would be interested in bringing him out there.
Yeah, well, you're saying he may get a better offer there than Bellator?
I think he may get a better offer than Bellator would give him.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you what, as awkward as he is, and I'm not saying he's not a cool dude or anything.
Way better, though.
Dude, his interviews are fascinating to me. The post-fight, you know, whether he comes in and does, you know, now they're doing them on their own, so it's not like basically a press conference. Each individual fighter just has their own little post-fight scrum, but whatever he is, he's just letting go, man, and he knows how to mix it up, talk a little bit of smack, then kind of giggle, but he just kind of cracks me up every once in a while. He just goes, he like loses his temper momentarily, you know, he'll go, hey, what do you want from me, you know, like, he quit, fuck him, fuck that, I won. Fuck yeah! Oh man, I literally laugh and go back and rewind. Mousasi interviews the last 2 years have been extraordinary, and they just keep getting better and better. And I think they should pay him, man. They should pay him. He made some good points. I like how he aligned himself to. I beat Dan Henderson. I beat Vitor Belfort. I beat Mark Hunt. You know, and all them cats who have put in their time. Mm-hmm. They make a lot of money. I think he wants to go. For sure, per fight, north of $500,000.
I think the next time he's in studio, we got to get FIFA up on the screen during that interview. Just have him play. I hope we could break him.
That'd be funny. All right. So now let's talk about AJ and Cormier. You good on time, Mike?
Yeah, I got however long you guys want to keep me on.
All right, cool. We have Edson Barboza coming up in about 50 minutes, and I do have to get the 3 callers, so we'll take a little bit of time here with AJ and Cormier. What did you see in the back? I mean, we know the result, and I think, you know, it was all disappointing to us. We wanted to see AJ strike. He didn't. He basically decided to go to Cormier's strength, and for Cormier, it was like a walk in the park, honestly, except for the broken nose from the shin. But what did you think of, I guess, the retirement, and none of the coaches went in there, and did you see anything in the back between AJ and his team, or what was unusual to you about all that?
Yeah, it was. I actually had the chance to rewatch the fights when I got home last night, because when you're at an event, especially in the back, there's a lot going on. Sometimes we'll have other fighters coming back for post-fight scrums. You can't really watch the full thing. But in terms of the fallout of that, you were just sitting there and watching it back again, watching Johnson's post-fight interview when he's looking around for his coaches and Henry Hooft isn't there. It was a very sad scene, like, to kind of watch that retirement. Like, he didn't know where his coaches was. He clearly wanted them to be in there so he could make this big announcement. It was just very, very awkward and kind of sad to watch. And in terms of his performance, I mean, I think we can all agree we don't know what he was really trying to do with the game plan. I mean, from what he said after the fact, and even in the ring or in the octagon rather, and then at the post-fight, it seemed like he didn't outright say it, but there's some sort of concern about head trauma from what he was saying about not wanting to be hit anymore and these kind of things. And just, it seemed like that potentially translated in the fight as well. It seemed like, you know, he ate a nice right hand from Cormier really early and then decided to close the distance and was trying to do the wrestling thing, which I think we were all perplexed by, but it just seems like he was over, you know, getting in there and striking with dudes and being hit. And of course, he got taken down. He took some shots on the ground before he ultimately got choked out. But yeah, it was just a very perplexing performance. And then the retirement, I don't think really anyone saw that coming. We don't really see guys in the top 3 of their weight class walk away when they're still very much at the peak of their game. So I was pretty surprised by that. But when you listen to his reasoning after the fact, you can't really blame him too much. Anthony Johnson made his UFC debut in June of 2007. So I know he had that little bit of time outside the organization where he was working his way back after being cut, but that's pretty much 10 years fighting at the very elite level of the sport. And I could understand how he'd maybe be beyond that at this point. He doesn't want to do it anymore. He fought for the title twice. It didn't go his way, so maybe he feels he's done everything he can. But yeah, I didn't really see him interacting too much with his team or anything like that. He showed up at the press conference by himself. He spoke with us. I think he was very open and honest about pretty much everything except for what he's actually doing next. He wouldn't really drop any hints of what that's going to be about. But yeah, it was as surprising to me as I think everyone else.
So his team did not follow him into the post-fight press conference. You didn't see anybody there either, huh?
Not from what I saw. Nothing directly beside the stage. Maybe they were hiding back there in like the back corner of the press conference room. But no, from what I saw, I didn't really see anyone there. It was just him by himself. And I mean, I'm not surprised. I know Henry Hoof, I think, is on the MMA Hour as we speak, and I saw someone tweet out that he said it was one of the most frustrating nights of his life as a coach. So you can understand. I know we posted that Stephen Morocco did that awesome story with the corner transcript from the fight of Henry Hooft and his other coach, I believe it was Neil Melanson, talking in the corner, and they just seemed utterly perplexed by what he was doing in there. And then, from all indications, Henry Hooft left ringside right when the fight ended. So, yeah, I mean, I feel bad for Rumble in a way that, like, that retirement, it just was kind of awkward in the cage when he was trying to call his coaches in. But, yeah, I didn't see anyone in the press room with him either. So it seems like, at the very least, Henry Hooft was, very, very upset with how that all unfolded.
How about that division? Rumble's gone. Krylov's gone. Bader's gone. Davis is gone. Jones is, I guess, in a holding pattern. I can't say he's gone because it all points to him coming back in July. And DC is informing us all, by the way, that he's rounded third and he's closer to home than third base in terms of his career. I think he wants Jones and then Jones 3, and he'll sail off into the sunset. I mean, seriously. That division's in peril.
It was the marquee division for so long. It's just so weird to see it in this state right now.
Yeah, and I know White got asked about it, and he said, oh, yeah, people ask me this. What about Chuck? What about Anderson? Well, that's a superstar talk. We're talking about 205 talk. Like, literally, I was expecting a little bit better of an answer. But, I guess he can't memorize the whole 500-person roster, but that I'm telling you, that division needs help, and they should not have let go of Davis or Bader. Those guys, even though you look at them and they're sitting across the table and they go, that's right, tack on an extra 0, you bite your lip and you go, fuck it, this is our marquee division, or was. We need to keep it going. Pay them, In other divisions where the suits can flex a little bit and say, hey, man, you're one of 100. You take this or leave it. I get it. That might work there. That's what happens in all sports. If you're a great quarterback and you happen to be on another team with another great quarterback, well, guess what? At some point you're saying, hey, I'm tired of holding the clipboard. Now I want to go out and play, and guess what? That guy's going to go out there and he's going to get paid a lot. There's just some positions in some sports or divisions or whatever where you need to get paid, and that's one of them. And I think they've dropped the ball over these last few years.
Yep, I totally agree. And I was actually the one who asked Dana that question at the press conference. He more or less no-sold it. I asked Daniel Cormier pretty much the same thing too, though, and he gave a little bit of a better answer. He said, it sucks that Rumble's leaving. It's a loss for the division. And he was much more upfront about it, but at the same time, DC, he has a full slate right now. He's going to, like you said, have that Jones fight, maybe 2 more Jones fights, maybe a Jimmy Manuwa fight gets in there somewhere if there ends up being some sort of issue or delay with John Jones, which, of course, could be entirely possible before they fight one more time, let alone 2 more times if DC was able to win the second fight. So for Cormier himself, looking ahead, like, he is fine in terms of opponents and having some title defenses lined up, but outside of that, there's not much going on. Right now, of course, we have Alexander Gustafsson's going to fight Gilbert Teixeira, and then we're going to have Misha Serkinov fighting Ozdemir over on the Sweden card. But like outside of those 4 guys, who is really in this division? Who are like the up-and-comers? Who are the prospects? And it's just such a far cry from the old days where we had, Chuck and Tito and Vitor and Randy and all these different people. Like you said, it was the marquee division. And right now, you see people online being like, they should just fold light heavyweight into the heavyweight division and just merge them. Like right now, and I doubt that's going to happen. But like right now, it's a very, very weak division, and the future doesn't look too bright either. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. We have Mick Maynard, the new UFC matchmaker, who's been on for a few months now. He is the head of that division. Seems like he has some sort of vision and plan for what's to come. But right now, it seems like a very, very not great situation for the future of that weight class. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 2-3 years. And could you just imagine if Anthony Johnson had won this fight and retired? How crazy that would be.
No shit, huh? And Mick Maynard, man, you know what? Give Rampage some HGH and tell Alistair Overeem to cut back down to 205. Maybe that'll buy you another year or two to get some prospects in there. And then just load up the next 3 seasons of Tough with all 205ers. Oh, my God. All right. Mike Bohn.
And I mean, and another thing you could – just really quickly
finish up, yeah.
I mean, for the future of that weight class, look at a guy like if a guy like Mousasi can't get the title shot, a guy like Jacare, they should definitely consider moving up to 205 at this point. We said 185 in an absolute holding pattern. There's some guys that I think from 185 that should go up because they could absolutely cut the line. So for those people, while they're waiting for GST and Bisping to do their thing, maybe consider moving up because that would be probably a quicker path to the title at this point.
Thanks for the time, homie. Great job out there in Buffalo with Matt Erickson.
Thanks. Talk to you guys soon.
All right, we'll see you. Follow him on Twitter at Mike Bohn. Let's take some calls. We got to take our commercial before Edson Barboza. Waiting the longest is Marco from Waco, brother. What's up, Marco? Marco from Waco, you there? There he is. What's up? Yeah. You want to go back and wipe that ass? I know you probably rushed out of the bathroom there when you heard your name.
Hello?
Marco from Waco.
We can hear you, fool.
Yeah, hey, this is stronger than the United States Athletic Commission because in a space of 36 hours, they got towel gate, fake boobies gate, illegal knees to the top of the hip that were actually legal after you watch a rip and you were not supposed to have, cluster for gate. So stone those motherfuckers, man.
What was the first one before Booby Gate?
Towel gate.
What gate? Oh, Towel Gate. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was pretty crazy, man.
We're going to talk about Towel Gate more tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to talk about Towel Gate, but I want to focus on the positive of this card this week. Shout out to my jury. Cynthia Diaz's sister, Calvillo. I'm not surprised, motherfucker. Love that girl. And Daniel Cormier, man. He won the fight. He embraced the villain. And even though Anthony Johnson stole a little bit of his shine with this bullshit retirement because I really don't like it, I don't think he gave me a good, honest to good effort in the fight. Thinking this is a man right now, and line up 2 fights, one with John Jones, that is the one fight that should happen, and one with Manuel, just in case John Jones cannot make it. We're going to leave you guys, catch you guys tomorrow.
All right, we'll see you, Marco.
A lot of people don't realize it, but this dude is creeping up on GOAT status.
Cormier?
Yeah.
Yeah, if he can beat Jones and just leave it at 1-1, that's not bad. That's not a bad resume. But if he were to get Jones twice, I mean, he has to be the GOAT at that point. Mm-hmm. But it's easier said than done, that's for sure. Let's talk to Dan in Oregon. What's up, Dan?
What up, man? I want to build on Showtime's call because I think Chris Weidman quit as well. He pulled the whole flopping bullcrap that we see in soccer and basketball and all this nonsense. You know, that's why I watch fighting, because there is no flopping. Now we got Weidman laying there on the ground. And correct me if I'm wrong, but he needs palms on the ground with his 2 hands with these new rules, not just fingertips.
Right. Well, we've been calling it a downward push, but yeah, it may be defined as palms. We'll have to look at that and see. Because I mean, you have to really look close to see if you know how your fingers get white when there's a certain amount of pressure. So yeah, I'd be okay with them calling it palms too.
Man, and Mousasi was pouring it on him. He threw that 30 punch combo on him, going to the body, going to the head. That was just rocking him. I thought the momentum shift was huge. But I almost want to talk about not what the rules are in the Nevada State Athletic Commission, but what we should see moving forward, because Weidman sold it hard. Mergliata was behind him. He had no angle whatsoever, and then he still jumped in for the save. Okay, let's take a look at this. And I think that's what we should do, Let's have another ref outside, a.k.a. Big John. Maybe he's got a different angle on the whole situation. Do your little ref parlay thing. Okay, it wasn't legal, and then exactly what you said, George. Okay, no 5 minutes. Are you ready to fight? Nope. Okay, let's go. But Weidman couldn't even tell him the day of the week. So was this dude able to continue? No, that should have been a TKO win for Mousasi. And, they're talking about, are they going to run it back? Is Mousasi even going to be in the UFC? That's what I want to know, because, Bellator and Ryzen, they got this whole kind of co-promote thing going on. Maybe he can swing back and forth there. And when you look at Alistar Overeem and Gilbert Melendez, these were dudes that got automatic title shots coming off of their contract negotiations. And I just don't see that possible right now in the middleweight division. So who knows what's going to happen there. But I almost want to steer the conversation, not what the rules are, if Weidman's going to win this appeal, but how can we fix this moving forward? Because this is going to happen again, as you guys said. Back to you, I'm out.
Good stuff. I don't mind the consultation of the other ref, especially because as quick as the UFC production team had it and Rogan was talking about it, if they want to do it, great. Because if he's at an angle where he can't see it, yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of work to get these two in there. And, yeah, there's a halt to the action, but I'd rather them get it right, which in the end they did. But it just all needs to be expedited quicker. One more call, and then we'll do our big break. It's Hal in Chicago. What's up, Hal?
Not much, man. I want to stung on Delta Airlines. I was trying to book a last-minute flight, and the price went from like $500 to $1,600 within 3 hours.
Jesus.
And then 30 minutes later, it went up to $2,300.
What airlines?
Delta.
So
Delta, really?
Yeah.
Delta? Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I want to congratulate Texas State, Missouri. We're happy for him. He's engaged. He's all growing up, going to town. No more shines, Billy. He just converted. Well, he just got baptized, so congratulations to him. I'm sure that was, because of his girlfriend, so I'm very happy for them. And good luck to him tomorrow. He's planning to convert to Mexican. And then Jersey Mike, I like that new guy, leadoff hitter, a.k.a. I call him Brett Butler because he's the only white guy capable of leading off. But maybe I'd like to see him swing away more, maybe be more Ricky Henderson. He's going for a lot of bunt singles. I think he called in the other day talking about Rampage's head looks small. Come on, Mike, don't get into that trap where you have to call in every day. If you don't got nothing, you don't got nothing, but you're good anyway. And then that's it. About the flopping, I don't agree, George. I think flopping in football or basketball equals.
No. I
Edson. Okay. This is the washboard abs guy.
Mm-hmm.
Regulars. See? I know who they are. Edson. Alright, I'm going to call him now. We have 1 minute.
Cool.
Right? He's coming on now.
Hey, idiot! Yeah, you. Can you please tap that rather large fellow on the shoulder and tell him it's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goze? Thank you.
All right, we're back. It's Monday, April 10th. It's a live show. We were gone for 2 days. Thank you for being patient. We were out in Virginia, the state of Virginia, visiting dual bases, Fort Eustis and Langley Air Base, also known as JBLE, Joint Base Langley Eustis. We had a great time. And if you follow our social media, for example, I'm at MMA Junkie George on Instagram and Twitter. Goze is at the Goze on Instagram and Twitter. You can see a lot of videos and pics from our 3 days out there at JBLE. Also, Kevin Lee, Felice Herrig, Todd Duffy, Stitch Duran, and Brad Tavares were also there, and they posted up a lot of stuff. Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It was really, really a good time. And again, thank you to the soldiers and airmen that were so great to us. And of course, the higher-ups that had us come out, especially Colonel Terrio, Carl Cook, Alton Dunham. You guys are the best.
And a very big day tomorrow. Tomorrow is our 10-year anniversary.
10-year anniversary of doing this show, yeah. We're going to be joined by UFC light heavyweight Daniel Cormier, and might even work on another guest or two, but, we just kind of want to keep it light, maybe reminisce a little bit about our 10-year run. Quick results here. Rafael Carvalho defeated Melvin Manhoff to retain his middleweight title out in Turin, Italy. That was Bellator 176. Anastasia Yankova, she also won and stayed undefeated. And good friend of the show, Gaston Bolanos, fought on the kickboxing portion of the card, and he did well. He won his fight 30-27 across the board. Some adjustments there because no elbows. He comes from Muay Thai, and he had the kickbox. And on the heels of fighting MMA, a lot of these guys and gals work off muscle memory. So great job for Gaston Bolanos. Joining us now is one of the top lightweights in the world. He's coming off a win at the recent card in Brazil, Fortaleza, Brazil, if I'm not mistaken, is where they were at. And Edson Barboza defeated Benil Dariush with a wicked knee. Didn't that one qualify for KO of the month on MMA Junkie Goze?
It might be the lock for the year, right?
Yeah, man, that was vicious. Joining us now is Edson Barboza. What's up, Edson? How you doing?
Good, man. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
You too, my man. We wanted to get a hold of you, a little bit after the fight, but I know you're from Brazil and you were already in Brazil, so you and your family had a nice vacation, I hear.
Yes, man. Yes, I spent like 3 weeks there, just with my family and friends. But always training, man. I train there too. Never stop.
Do you want to move back to Brazil when you're done fighting, or is America home now?
I don't know. I don't think about this yet, I really don't think about this, but I don't know. I don't know the future. I'm happy here right now, because right now I don't have nothing in Brazil, just my family and my friends. Right here, I have my home, I have my cars, everything here. That's a hard decision, but I don't know. I'm gonna see in the future.
What kind of car you got, Edson? I'm just curious.
I have a Ford Focus, and my wife has a Dodge Journey.
There you go. All right. He's even buying American cars. How about that?
What would your license plate be for Edson Barboza? What would you make it?
If Edson had a vanity plate, well, if I say Junior, that's too obvious because that's his nickname.
Mm-hmm.
But I would put KO Man or something like that,
Man?
or KO by knee. Does that fit? Yeah, you get 7 KO by BY knee.
Huh.
KO by knee.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Hey, man, that was incredible. That was a great fight between Beneil Dariush and you. He was doing good, and then, of course, you finished the fight. But, wow, 2 quality lightweights going at it in Fortaleza, Brazil. I really enjoyed that fight.
Yeah, man, that's a really hard fight. Beneil definitely one of the best in the world. He's a top 10 guy in the world. And you guys see it. Big UR, he's coming hard. I go hard too. That's really good fight. I'm very happy with the result.
Did he surprise you with how good his kickboxing was and, his leg kicks, his speed? A lot of people gave you that advantage going in, but, wow, it looked like he wanted to beat you at your own game.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because he coming with a really good school, on the Kings MMA. You see the guys there, Rafael, and they're doing the guys looking really good in the fit. And I'm not surprised. I'm definitely not surprised. I know he's coming hard, and you guys see a big war.
We've seen also in the last few weeks, Tony Ferguson's been he's been shouting your name out. He wants to do an interim fight because McGregor is going to be a father, and then he wants to box, and then Khabib is recovering from that weight cut that didn't go too well. And I'll tell you what, this might not be a bad idea, you and Ferguson for an interim title, because the champion doesn't he's not active. I mean, he was active before, but he's already said he's going to have his kid and then box, and then who knows what he'll decide after that.
Yeah, man, I think McGregor is not a real champ, He has the belt, but man, I have more than almost 20 fights on this division. Ferguson has more than 10 fights on this division. Khabib almost 10 fights in this division, And I think the next champ will be the fight for interim belt,
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope UFC give me a chance to fight with the Tony Ferguson because he said he wants to fight. And I want to fight too, and I hope UFC give me this chance.
That'd be a great fight. And these
styles
two
just match up so well.
These two have fought before. Ferguson won that fight, and so this would be a good chance for Edson to avenge the loss and also capture a belt. So what have you heard other than social media? Have you heard anything from the UFC if they are warm to this idea?
Yes, man. I saw many guys talk about this fight, It's a rematch for me. Man, I think this fight makes sense for us, makes sense for me, makes sense for him. I know he said he's on his way, and I'm here. I'm ready. You guys remember the last fight me against him? Really good fight, one of the best fights of the year. Imagine, you guys, 5 rounds, me and him. I was in full camp. Because my last fight against him, I have just 4 weeks camp,
Mm-hmm.
I get the fight in short notice. Imagine, you guys, 5 rounds. That's going to be a really good fight. Maybe one of the best fights of the year.
What fight card do you want it to happen?
He said he's ready for July. He said that's going to be perfect for me. I'm ready for July too. Why not?
UFC 213, International Fight Week. I like the timing of that as well. We're joined by Edson Barboza, 19-4 now, and he's on a 3-fight win streak. His last win being over Beneil Dariush at UFC Fight Night, Belfort versus Gastelum in Fortaleza, Brazil. And, folks, it was a beautiful flying knee that Barboza delivered on Beneil Dariush. one of the best knees I've ever seen. All right, Goze, what do you have for Edson Barboza?
Edson, you've had a lot of these finishes that, when they play that montage at the beginning of the main card, we see a lot of Edson Barboza knocking people out because you've had these great finishes. How far in advance did you see that opening for you to throw that knee? Is that something that you knew it was only a matter of time that you would be able to land?
And it's funny, my Muay Thai coach, say all the time, Edson, why you don't throw like some flying knees? Because you have a time, you're very, very, very exposed. Why you don't throw? You never throw the flying knee in UFC. But I work a lot, I work a lot flying knee. And he said, man, come on, please, man, throw some flying knee. Couple camps ago. And I still work hard, knees, and I keep talking to him. He said, wait, Anderson, wait, the knees come in the right time. And I train this move a lot. And I train it because I know his head there. Every time he throw his jab, he dropped a little bit his level. He will change the level a little bit. And I train this move a lot. Just wait the right time, and thank God I get one more knockout.
Well, it was a beautiful knockout. And to go forward a little bit here, with Tony Ferguson, I know you would want the outcome to be different, obviously, but what about the fight itself? Do you think the fight would look very similar? You guys didn't stop going forward, and it was a very high pace. Would it look the same with it being a 5-round fight?
Yeah, that's the most important. And it'd be a full camp, That's, I think, that's the big difference. Because I get the fight against, I'm not excused, of course. He's a great fighter, It's not excused, but I get the fight against only 4 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
If I have a full camp, I know the fight at the end is going to be different.
Are those fights still fun for you? Or because I know you want to limit the damage that you take, but the fans love it. We love watching it. Do you still have fun at the end of those wars?
Yes, of course, man. That's every time somebody asks me about the fights, and man, I'm always training for a big war. And everybody all the time said about my fights, and I said all interviews, and man, I'm training for war. That's really fun for me, and I love this, I have like eight. I think I have a 6th fight of the night, I love, man. Every time I step the octagon, I see very, very, very good fights and big wars. That's making me happy, very excited,
He does have 6 fight of the nights and 2 performances of the night. So one of them was called the knockout of the night back then, but now it's called performance of the night. So 8 bonuses altogether. Edson Barboza doing some damage in the 155-pound division. And, of course, now there's talk of a possible interim title bout. Tony wants it. Edson wants it. They'll both be ready for July. We need it, man. We really need it to happen because I think Khabib, he basically removed himself as a contender. All due respect to him as an undefeated fighter, but he wasn't able to make weight, and now he has to take time off because, he's got a religious, not holiday, but holiday period in which he can't compete. And then you have the champion that is looking to fight in other sports, and he's taking a break as well. So as much as I don't like interim title fights when it doesn't make sense, this one kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think so. I think I sent a message for Ferguson in my Twitter. I tell him, come on, bro, let's go do this again because the division deserves a real champ, Definitely this division deserves a real champ. And probably real champs coming the next interim belt.
Mm-hmm. Do you think McGregor will even come back after he boxes Mayweather?
I don't know, man. I really don't think about this guy,
Yeah.
I don't try to keep my focus on him, I really don't care about him.
Are you gonna?
I'm really don't care.
Are you gonna cheer for him or Mayweather when they fight, when they box?
Like I said, man, I really don't care. I think I definitely don't watch this fight,
Really? You're not gonna watch it, huh?
Don't worry about him. Yeah, definitely. I'm really don't worry about him,
Right. Okay. All right. Well, Edson, congrats on that fight. I'm glad you had some time in Brazil with your family and friends. You sound pretty relaxed and ready to go for whatever your next fight may be. And it sounds probable that you and Ferguson can do this, man. Hopefully this summer, hopefully for an interim title belt. I think it'd be great to see.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's like keeping training hard, like always, getting better and better every day. Yeah, I promise, you guys, my next fight's gonna be the best fight of my career. I promise.
There you have it, and that's saying a lot. This guy's ended fights with leg kicks, wheel kick, a flying knee, and then remember that piece he put on Dunham with the body kick and the punches. So there's been some really nice highlights in there, and if this one's going to be the next one, the best one ever, I can't wait to tune in. Ferguson's a great fighter. Barboza's a great fighter. It's going to be a great fight. Thanks, Edson, as always, for the time. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you guys, and thank you. I hope to talk to you guys really soon.
All right. Have a nice day. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
All right. That's Edson Barboza, folks, and we're going to take our last break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93. Stay close. Back to Close Up Shop soon.
Kicked off the set of The Fast and the Furious for being too loud and too good-looking. Once again, here's Gorgeous George and Goze.
We gave you the Bellator results. Let me just glance over these UFC results because most of the talk has been about Mousasi and Weidman and that controversy, and of course Cormier and Johnson, and the controversy of Johnson's game plan, and then surprise announcement that he's retiring, early 30s, top of the game, but he wants to bow out. So, how do we know that one of these guys didn't recently have some sort of a cognitive nerve test and they said, hey, man, you're losing it? You know what I mean? Like, I guess to be fair, it'd be nice to catch up with Anthony and maybe get more from him. But if he's really concerned about his safety, I feel him.
I applaud him if that's what he's worried about.
Exactly. Cynthia Calvillo, third win in 2017. She choked out Pearl Gonzalez. Thiago Alves beat Patrick Cote, and then Cote also retired. Not as surprising because Cote's been around, but congratulations to Patrick Cote and a wonderful career. Thiago Alves looked really solid. I mean,
he looked good.
He looked good at 170. You know, he's back. He's a contender again. Can't wait to see his next assignment. Charles Oliveira back at 155, although he says he wants to go to 145, although he misses weight at 145. I don't know what he wants to do. 150 would be perfect for him, but he defeated Will Brooks. So that was a huge win. And Brooks, a former champ, you know, he could have pretty much followed Alvarez with him being a champ and some wins. He could have been fighting for a world title, and now he's lost 2 in a row. So he's got to definitely figure that out. Miles Jury back after a while, defeated Mike Del Torre. Kamaru Usman looked good, man. Sean Strickland's no joke. He's only lost once, now twice. And Usman just keeps looking better and better. Shane Burgos and Charles Rosa was a great fight. They got bonuses there. Patrick Cummins needed that win, and he got it over Jan Blachowicz. So you may see him pop back into the rankings because Blachowicz was a ranked fighter, although with AJ leaving, who knows what that reshuffle is going to look like. Gregor Gillespie, Desmond Green, Caitlin Chikagian, and Magomed Bibulatov, all winners there. We'll talk more about that when we come back tomorrow. 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. It will be our 10-year anniversary show. Should be fun. UFC light heavyweight Daniel Cormier will join us and possibly one other in-studio guest. So for Victoria and Goze, I'm George. Have a nice day, and don't forget to go out there and be champions.
Las Vegas turning day into night.